Welcome to our Sunday reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada here in the sacred land of Vrindavan in his sacred room where he departed from this world in 1977. So we're reading from chapter 66. Everyone online, you can turn to chapter 66, the deliverance of Pandraka and the king of Kashi. And before we begin, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskacha Deshatarane. And to each other, Vancha Kalpa Drubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Chapter 66, the deliverance of Pandraka and the king of Kashi. The story of King Pandraka is very interesting because it proves that there have always been many rascals and fools who have considered themselves God. Even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there was such a foolish person. His name was Pandraka, and he wanted to declare himself God. While Lord Balaram was absent in Vrindavan, this King Pandraka, the king of Karusha province, being foolish and puffed up, sent a messenger to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but King Pandraka directly challenged Krishna through the messenger who stated that Pandraka, not Krishna, was Vasudeva. In the present day, there are many foolish followers of such rascals. Similarly, in Pandraka's day, many foolish men accepted Pandraka as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he could not estimate his own position, Pandraka falsely thought himself to be Lord Vasudeva. Thus, the messenger declared to Krishna that King Pandraka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had descended to the earth out of his causeless mercy just to deliver all distressed persons.
Surrounded by many other foolish persons, this rascal Pandraka had actually concluded that he was Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This king of conclusion is certainly childish. When children are playing, they sometimes select a king among themselves, and the selected child may think that he is actually the king. Similarly, many foolish persons, due to ignorance, select another fool as God. And then the rascal actually considers himself God, as if God could be created by childish play or by the words of men. Under his false impression, thinking himself the Supreme Lord, Pandraka sent him messenger to Dwaraka to challenge the position of Krishna. The messenger reached the royal assembly of Krishna in Dwaraka and conveyed the message given by his master. Pandraka, the message contained the following statements.
I am the only Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. No man can compare with me. I have descended as King Pandraka, taking compassion on the distressed, conditioned souls out of my unlimited, causeless mercy. You have falsely taken the position of Vasudeva without authority, but you should not propagate this false idea. You must give up your position. O descendant of Yadu dynasty, please give up all the symbols of Vasudeva, which you have falsely assumed. And after giving up this position, come and surrender unto me. If out of your gross impudence you do not care for my words, then I challenge you to fight. I am inviting you to a battle in which the decision will be settled.
When all the members of the royal assembly, including King Agrasena, heard this message sent by Panduranga, they laughed very loudly for a considerable time. After enjoying the loud laughter of all the members of the assembly, Krishna replied to the messenger as follows: O messenger of Panduranga, you may carry my message to your master. You are a foolish rascal. I directly call you a rascal and refuse to follow your instructions. I shall never give up the symbols of Vasudeva, especially my disc. I shall use this disc to kill not only you, but all your followers also. I shall destroy you and your foolish associates, who merely constitute a society of cheaters and the cheated. O foolish king, you will then have to conceal your face in disgrace. And when your head is severed from your body by my disc, it will be surrounded by meat-eating birds like vultures, hawks, and eagles. At that time, instead of becoming my shelter, as you have demanded, you will be subjected to the mercy of these low-born birds. At that time, your body will be thrown to the dogs, who will eat it with great pleasure.
The messenger carried the words of Lord Krishna to his master, Panduranga, who patiently heard all these insults. Without waiting any longer, Lord Sri Krishna immediately started out on his chariot to punish the rascal Panduranga, the king of Karusha, because at that time he was living with his friend, the king of Kashi. Krishna surrounded the whole city of Kashi. King Panduranga was a great warrior, and as soon as he heard of Krishna's attack, he came out of the city with 2 Akshauhini divisions of soldiers. The king of Kashi also came out with 3 Akshauhini divisions. When the 2 kings came before Lord Krishna to oppose him, Krishna saw Panduranga face to face for the first time. Krishna saw that Panduranga had decorated himself with the symbols of the conch shell, disc, lotus, and club. He carried an imitation Sharanga bow, and on his chest was a mock insignia of Srivatsa. His neck was decorated with a false Kaustubh jewel, and he wore a flower garland in exact imitation of Lord Vasudeva's. He was dressed in yellow silken garments, and the flag on his chariot carried the symbol of Garud, exactly imitating Krishna's. He had a very valuable helmet on his head, and his earrings, like swordfish, glittered brilliantly. On the whole, however, his dress and makeup were clearly imitation. Anyone could understand that he was just like someone on stage playing the part of Vasudeva in false dress. When Lord Sri Krishna saw Panduranga imitating his posture and dress, he could not check his laughter, and thus he laughed with great satisfaction.
The soldiers on the side of King Panduranga, began to shower their weapons upon Krishna. The weapons, including various kinds of tridents, clubs, poles, lances, swords, daggers, and arrows, came flying in waves, and Krishna counteracted them. He smashed not only the weapons but also the soldiers and assistants of Panduranga. Just as during the dissolution of this universe, the fire of devastation burns everything to ashes, the elephants, chariots, horses, and infantry belonging to the opposite party were scattered by the weapons of Krishna. Indeed, the whole battlefield became strewn with smashed chariots and the bodies of men and animals. There were fallen horses, elephants, men, asses, and camels. Although the devastated battlefield appeared like the dancing place of Lord Shiva at the time of the dissolution of the world, the warriors on the side of Krishna were very much encouraged by seeing this, and they fought with greater strength.
At this time, Lord Krishna told Panduranga, Pondraka, you requested me to give up the symbols of Lord Vishnu, specifically my disc. Now I'll give it up to you. Be careful. You falsely declare yourself Vasudev, imitating me. Therefore, no one is a greater fool than you. From this statement of Krishna's, it is clear that any rascal who advertises himself as God is the greatest fool in human society. Krishna continued, Now, Pondraka, I shall force you to give up this false representation. You wanted me to surrender unto you? Now, this is your opportunity. We shall now fight, and if I am defeated and you are victorious, I shall certainly surrender unto you. In this way, after chastising Pondraka very severely, Krishna smashed Pondraka's chariot to pieces by shooting an arrow. Then, with the help of his disc, he separated Pondraka's head from his body, just as Indra shaves off the peaks of mountains by striking them with his thunderbolt. Similarly, Krishna also killed the king of Kashi with his arrows. Lord Krishna specifically arranged to throw the head of the king of Kashi into the city of Kashi itself, so that his relatives and family members could see it. Krishna did this just as a hurricane carries a lotus petal here and there. Lord Krishna killed Pondraka and his friend Kashiraj on the battlefield, and then he returned to his capital city, Dwarka.
When Lord Krishna returned to the city of Dwarka, all the siddhas from the heavenly planets were singing his glories. As far as Pondraka was concerned, somehow or other he always thought of Lord Vasudev, by falsely dressing himself in imitation of the Lord. Therefore, Pondraka achieved Sarupya, one of the 5 kinds of liberation, and was thus promoted to the Vaikuntha planets, where the devotees have the same bodily features as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding the 4 symbols. Factually, his meditation was concentrated on the Vishnu form, but because he thought himself Lord Vishnu, it was offensive. By his being killed by Krishna, however, that offense was mitigated. Thus, he was given Sarupya liberation, and he attained the same form as the Lord.
When the head of the king of Kashi was thrown through the city gate, people gathered and were astonished to see that wonderful thing. When they found out that there were earrings on it, they could understand that it was someone's head. They conjectured as to whose head it might be. Some thought it was Krishna's head, because Krishna was the enemy of Kasiraj, and they calculated that the king of Kashi might have thrown Krishna's head into the city so that the people might take pleasure in the enemies having been killed. But they finally detected that the head was not Krishna's, but that of Kasiraj himself. When this was ascertained, the queens of the king of Kashi immediately approached and began to lament the death of their husband. "Our dear Lord," they cried, "upon your death we have become just like dead bodies."
The king of Kasi had a son whose name was Sudakshana. After observing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies, he took a vow that since Krishna was the enemy of his father, he would kill Krishna and in this way liquidate his debt to his father. Therefore, accompanied by a learned priest qualified to help him, he began to worship Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, who is also known as Vishwanatha, is the Lord of the King of Kashi. The temple of Lord Vishwanatha is still existing in Varanasi, and many thousands of pilgrims still gather daily in that temple. By the worship of Sudakshana, Lord Shiva was very much pleased and he wanted to give a benediction to his devotee. Sudakshina's purpose was to kill Krishna and therefore he prayed for a specific power by which to kill him. Lord Shiva advised that Sudakshina, assisted by the Brahmanas, execute the ritualistic ceremony for killing one's enemy. This ceremony is also mentioned in some of the tantras. Lord Shiva informed Sudakshina that if such a blank ritualistic ceremony were performed properly, then the evil spirit named Dakshinagni would appear and then carry out any order given to him. He would have to be employed. However, to kill someone other than a qualified Brahmana, if all these conditions were met, then Dakshinagni, accompanied by Lord Shiva's ghostly companions, would fulfill the desire of Sudakshinas to kill his enemy.
When Sudakshina was encouraged by Lord Shiva in that way, he was sure that he would be able to kill Krishna. With a determined vow of austerity, he began to execute the black art of chanting mantras, assisted by the priest. After this, out of the fire came a great demoniac form, whose hair, beard, and mustache were exactly the color of the hot copper. This form was very big and fierce. As the demon arose from the fire, cinders of the fire emanated from the sockets of his eyes. The giant fiery demon appeared still more fierce due to the movements of his eyebrows. He exhibited long, sharp teeth and sticking out of his long tongue licked his upper and lower lips. He was naked and he carried a big trident, blazing like fire. After appearing from the fire of sacrifice, he stood wielding the trident in his hand. Instigated by Sudakshina, the demon proceeded towards the capital city Dwarka with many hundreds of costly companions. And it appeared that he was going to burn all outer space to ashes. The surface of the earth trembled because of his striking steps. When he entered the city of Dwarka, all the residents panicked just like animals in a forest fire.
At that time, Krishna was playing chess in the Royal Assembly Council Hall. All the residents of Dwaraka approached and addressed him, "Dear Lord of the three worlds, a great fiery demon is ready to burn the whole city of Dwaraka. Please save us." In this way, all the inhabitants of Dwaraka appealed to Lord Krishna for protection from the fiery demon, who had just appeared in Dwaraka to devastate the whole city.
Lord Krishna, who specifically protects his devotees, saw that the whole population of Dwarka was most perturbed by the presence of the great fiery demon. He immediately smiled and assured them, "Don't worry, I shall give you all protection. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is all-pervading. He is within everyone's heart, and he is also without, in the form of the cosmic manifestation." He could understand that the fiery demon was a creation of Lord Shiva, and in order to vanquish the demon, he took his Sudarshan Chakra and ordered him to take the necessary steps. The Sudarshan Chakra appeared with the effulgence of millions of suns, his heat being as powerful as the fire created at the end of the cosmic manifestation. By his effulgence, the Sudarshan Chakra illuminated the entire universe, on the surface of the earth as well as in outer space. Then the Sudarshan Chakra began to freeze the fiery demon created by Lord Shiva. In this way, the fiery demon was checked by the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Krishna, and being defeated in his attempt to devastate the city of Dwarka, he turned back.
Having failed to set fire to Dwarka, the fiery demon went back to Varanasi, the kingdom of Kashiraj. As a result of his return, all the priests who had helped instruct the black art of mantras along with the employer, Sudakshina, were burned to ashes by the glaring effulgence of the fiery demon. According to the methods of black art mantras instructed in the tantras, if the mantra failed to kill the enemy, then because it must kill someone, it kills the original creator. Sudakshina was the originator and the priest assisted him. Therefore, all of them were burned to ashes. This is the way of the demons. The demons create something to kill God, but by the same weapon, the demons themselves are killed.
Following just behind the fiery demon, the Sudarshana Chakra also entered Varanasi. This city had been very opulent and great for a very long time. Even now, the city of Varanasi is opulent and famous, and it is one of the important cities of India. There were then many big palaces, assembly houses, marketplaces, and gates with large and very important monuments by the palaces and the gates. Lecturing platforms could be found at every crossroads. There were buildings that housed the treasury, elephants, horses, chariots, and grain, and the places for distribution of food. The city of Varanasi had been filled with all these material opulences for a very long time, but because the king of Kashi and his son Sudakshina were against Lord Krishna, the Vishnu Chakra Sudarshana, the disc weapon of Lord Krishna, devastated the whole city by burning all these important places. This excursion was more ravaging than modern bombing. The Sudarshan Chakra, having thus finished his duty, came back to his Lord Sri Krishna at Dwarka.
This narration of the devastation of Varanasi by Krishna's disc weapon, the Sudarshan Chakra, is transcendental and auspicious. Anyone who narrates or hears this story with faith and attention will be released from all reaction to sinful activities. This is the assurance of Sukadeva Goswami, who narrated this story to Parikshit Maharaj. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 66th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Pondraka and the king of Kashi. Chapter 67, the deliverance of Dvita Gorilla. While Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic and wanted to hear further. Sukadeva Goswami next narrated the story of Dvita the gorilla, who was killed by Lord Balaram.
Arkasura, who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvita was the minister of King Sugriva. His brother Minda was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvita Gorilla heard the story of his friend Balmasura's being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Balmasura. His first business was to set fires in villages, towns, and industrial and mining places, as well as in the residential quarters of the mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. Sometimes he would uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way, he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwar. The city of Dwarka was situated in this Katwar province, and because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvita specifically made it his target of disturbance.
Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. Sometimes he would go to a seashore and with his powerful hands he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would flood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. Not only did he create disturbances in that way, but sometimes he would pass urine and stool on their sacred sacrificial arenas. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential places to the caves of the mountains. After putting them within the caves, he would close the entrance with large chunks of stone, like the Brigni insect, which arrests the carries away many flies and other insects, and put them within the holes of the trees where it lives. Thus, Dvivida regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female member of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them.
While creating such great disturbances all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from Revataka mountain, and so he entered that mountainous region. There he saw Lord Balarama in the midst of many beautiful young girls, enjoying their company while singing and dancing. Dvivida became captivated by the beauty of Lord Balarama's body, whose every feature was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of lotus flowers. Similarly, all the young girls present, dressed and garlanded with flowers, exhibited much beauty. Lord Balarama seemed fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage, and his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balarama appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants.
This gorilla by the name Dvivida could climb up into the trees and jump from one branch to another. Sometimes he would jerk the branches, creating a particular type of sound, kila kila, so that Lord Balarama was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivida could come before the woman and exhibit different types of caricatures. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking. And when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, but simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even the presence of Balarama, he began to show the lower part of his body to the woman. And sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. He disrespected the woman even in the presence of Balarama. Lord Balarama's name suggests not only that he is very powerful, but that he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivida. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balarama, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivida, being thus intoxicated with his limited strength, began to tear off all the valuable clothes owned by Balarama and the accompanying young girls. He was so puffed up that he thought Balarama could not do anything to chastise him, and he continued to offend Balaramji and his companions.
When Lord Balram saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he had already performed many mischievous activities all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. Immediately he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balram was going to attack him. To counteract Balram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force he came and struck Lord Balram's head. Lord Balram, however, immediately caught hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club, named Sunanda, and hit the gorilla with it, severely injuring his head. Currents of blood flowed from the gorilla's head with great force, but the stream of blood simply enhanced his beauty, like a stream of liquid manganese coming out of a great mountain. The striking of Balram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree, and after clipping off all its leaves, again struck Balram's head with it. But Balram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and struck Lord Balram's body. Again, Lord Balram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balram, Lord Balram would tear the tree to pieces by the striking of his club, and the gorilla Dvivida would clutch another tree from another direction and again attack Balram in the same way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Dvivida took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone, like rainfall, upon the body of Balram.
Lord Balram, in a great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. The gorilla, being bereft of all trees and stone slabs, now stood before Balram and waved his strong fists. Then, with great force, he began to beat Lord Balram's chest with his fists. This time, Lord Balram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, Lord Balram would not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or the plough. Simply with his fist, he struck the collarbone of the gorilla. This blow proved fatal to Dvivida, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious upon the ground. When the gorilla fell, all the hills and forests appeared to totter.
After this horrible incident, all the Siddhas, great sages and saintly persons from the upper planetary system showered flowers on the person of Lord Balaram and vibrated sounds glorifying his supremacy. All of them chanted, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let's offer our respectful obeisances onto your lotus feet. By killing this great demon, Dvivida, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world." All such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great demon Dvivida and being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balaram returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 67th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Dvivida gorilla.
Chapter 68, the marriage of Samba. Duryodhana, the son of Dhritarashtra, had a marriageable daughter by the name of Lakshmana. She was a very highly qualified Kuru dynasty, and many princes wanted to marry her. In such cases, the Swayamvara ceremony is held so that the girl may select her husband according to her own choice. In Lakshmana's Swayamvara assembly, when the girl was to select her husband, Samba appeared. He was a son of Krishna's by Jambavati, one of Lord Krishna's chief wives. This son Samba was so named because he was a pet child and always lived close to his mother. The name Samba indicates a son who is very much his mother's pet. Amba means mother and Sa means with. So this special name was given to him because he always remained with his mother. He was also known as Jambavati Sutta for the same reason. As previously explained, all the sons of Krishna were as qualified as their great father. Samba wanted Duryodhana's daughter Lakshmana, although she was not inclined to have him. Therefore, Samba kidnapped Lakshmana by force from the Sarambara ceremony.
Because Samba took Lakshmana away from the assembly by force, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, such as Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, Vidura, and Arjuna, thought it an insult to their family tradition that the boy Samba could possibly have kidnapped their daughter. All of them knew that Lakshmana was not at all inclined to select him as her husband, and that she was not given the chance to select her own husband. Instead, she was forcibly taken away by this boy. Therefore, they decided that he must be punished. They unanimously declared that he was most impudent and had degraded the Kuru's family tradition. Therefore, all of them, under the counsel of the elder members of the Kuru family, decided to arrest the boy, but not kill him. They concluded that the girl could not be married to any boy other than Samba, since she had already been touched by him. According to the Vedic system, once being touched by some boy, a girl could not be married or given to any other boy, nor would anyone agree to marry a girl who had already thus associated with another boy. The elder members of the family, such as Bhishma, wanted to arrest him. Thus all the members of the Kuru dynasty, especially the great fighters, joined together just to teach him a lesson, and Karna was made the commander-in-chief for this small battle.
While making the plan to arrest Samba, the Kurus counseled among themselves that upon his arrest, the members of the Yadu dynasty would be very angry with them. There was every possibility of the Yadus accepting the challenge and fighting with them. But they also thought, if they came here to fight with us, what could they do? The member of the Yadu dynasty cannot equal the members of the Kuru dynasty, because the kings of the Kuru dynasty are the emperors, whereas the kings of the Yadu dynasty are able to enjoy their land only because we have granted it to them. The Kurus thought, if they come here to challenge us because their son was arrested, we shall accept the fight and teach them a lesson, so that automatically they will be subdued under pressure, as the senses are subdued by the mystic yoga process of pranayam. In the mechanical system of mystical yoga, the airs within the body are controlled and the senses are subdued and checked from being engaged in anything other than meditation upon Lord Vishnu.
After consultation and after receiving permission from the elder members of the Kuru dynasty, such as Bhishma and Dhritarashtra, 5 great warriors, Karna, Shala, Bhuri, Yajnaketu, and Duryodhana, the father of the girl, who were all Maharathis and who were guided by the great fighter Bhishmadeva, attempted to arrest the boy Samba. There are different grades of fighters, including Maharathi, Ekarathi, and Rathi, classified according to their fighting ability. These Maharathis could fight alone with many thousands of men. All of them combined together to arrest Samba. Samba was also a Maharathi, but he was alone and had to fight with the 6 other Maharathis. Still, he was not deterred when he saw all the great fighters of the Kuru dynasty coming up behind him to arrest him.
Alone he turned toward them and took his nice bow, posing exactly as a lion stands adamant in the face of other animals. Karna, leading the party, challenged Samba. Why are you fleeing? Just stand, and we shall teach you a lesson. When challenged by another Kshatriya to stand and fight, a Kshatriya cannot run away. He must fight. Therefore, Samba accepted the challenge and stood alone before them. But as soon as he did so, he was overpowered by showers of arrows shot by all the great warriors. A lion is never afraid of being chased by many wolves and jackals. Similarly, Samba, the glorious son of the Yadu dynasty, endowed with inconceivable potencies as the son of Lord Krishna, became very angry at the warriors of the Guru dynasty for improperly using arrows against him. He taught them with great talent. He fought them with great talent. First of all, he struck each of the 6 charioteers with 6 separate arrows. He used another 4 arrows to kill the charioteers' horses, 4 on each chariot. Then he used 1 arrow to kill the driver and 1 arrow for Karna as well as the other celebrated fighters. While Samba so diligently fought alone with the 6 great warriors, they all appreciated the boy's inconceivable potency. Even in the midst of the fighting, they admitted frankly that the boy Samba was wonderful. But the fighting was conducted in the Kshatriya spirit. So all together, although it was improper, they obliged Samba to get down from his chariot, now broken to pieces. Of the 6 warriors, 4 took care to kill Samba's 4 horses. 1 struck down his chariot driver, and 1 managed to cut the string of Samba's bows, so that he could so longer fight with them. In this way, with great difficulty and after a severe fight, they deprived Samba of his chariot and were able to arrest him. Thus, the warriors of the Guru dynasty accepted their great victory and took their daughter Lakshmana away from him. Thereafter, they entered the city of Hastinapura in great triumph.
The great sage Narad immediately carried the news to the Yadu dynasty that Samba had been arrested and told them the whole story. The members of the Yadu dynasty became very angry at Samba's being arrested, and improperly so by 6 warriors. Now, with the permission of the head of the Yadu dynasty, King Ugrasena, they prepared to attack the capital city of the Kuru dynasty.
Although Lord Balram knew very well that by slight provocation people are prepared to fight with one another in the age of Kali, he did not like the idea that the 2 great dynasties, the Kuru dynasty and the Yadu dynasty, would fight amongst themselves, even though they were influenced by Kali Yuga. Instead of fighting with them, he wisely thought, "Let me go there and see the situation, and let me try to see if the fight can be settled by mutual understanding." Balram's idea was that if the Kuru dynasty could be induced to release Samba along with his wife Lakshmana, then the fight could be avoided. He therefore immediately agreed for a nice chariot. He therefore immediately arranged for a nice chariot to go to Hastinapur, accompanied by learned priests and brahmanas, as well as by some of the elder members of the Yadu dynasty. He was confident that the members of the Kuru dynasty would agree to this marriage and avoid fighting with the Yadus. As Lord Balram proceeded toward Hastinapur in his chariot, accompanied by the brahmanas and elders, he looked like the moon shining in the clear sky amongst the glittering stars. When Lord Balram reached the precincts of the city of Hastinapur, he did not enter but stationed himself in a camp outside the city in a small garden house. Then he asked Uddhava to meet with the leaders of the Kuru dynasty and inquire from them whether they wanted to fight with the Yadu dynasty or to make a settlement. Uddhava went to see the leaders of the Kuru dynasty, and he met all the important members including Bhishmadev, Dhritarashtra, Dronacharya, Duryodhana, and Bahalika. After offering them due respects, he informed them that Lord Balram had arrived at the garden outside the city gate.
The leaders of the Kuru dynasty, especially Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, were joyful because they knew very well that Lord Balram was a great well-wisher of their family. There were no bounds to their joy on hearing the news, and so they immediately welcomed Uddhava. In order to properly receive Lord Balram, they all took in their hands auspicious paraphernalia for his reception and went to see him outside the city gate. According to their respective positions, they welcomed Lord Balram by giving him in charity nice cows and arghya, a mixture of arti water, and an assortment of items such as honey, butter, flowers, and sandalwood pulp. Because all of them knew the exalted position of Lord Balaram as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they bowed their heads before the Lord with great respect. They all exchanged words of reception by asking one another about their welfare, and when such formalities were finished, Lord Balram, in a great voice and very patiently, submitted before them the following words for their consideration. My dear friends, this time I have come to you as a messenger with the order of the all-powerful King Ugrasen. Please, therefore, hear the order with attention and great care. Without wasting a single moment, please try to carry out the order. King Ugrasen knows very well that you warriors of the Kuru dynasty improperly fought with the pious Samba, who was alone, and that with great difficulty and unrighteous tactics you have arrested him. We have all heard this news, but we are not very much agitated because we are most intimately related to one another. I do not think we should disturb our good relationship. We should continue our friendship without any unnecessary fighting. Please therefore immediately release Samba and bring him along with his wife Lakshmana before me.
When Lord Balaram spoke in a commanding tone full of heroic assertion, supremacy, and chivalry, the leaders of the Kuru dynasty did not appreciate his statements. Rather, all of them became agitated, and with a great anger they said, "Oh, these words are very astounding, but quite befitting the age of Kali. Otherwise, how could Balaram speak so vituperatively? The language and tone used by Balaram was simply abusive, and due to the influence of this age, it appears that the shoes befitting the feet want to rise to the top of the head while the helmet is worn. We are connected with the Yadu dynasty by marriage, and because of this, they have been given the chance to come live with us, dine with us, and sleep with us. Now they're taking advantage of these privileges. They had practically no position before we gave them a portion of our kingdom to rule, and now they're trying to command us. We've allowed the Yadu dynasty to use the royal insignias like the whisk, fan, conch shell, white umbrella, crown, royal throne, sitting place, and bedstead, along with everything else befitting the royal order. They should not have used such royal paraphernalia in our presence, but we did not check them due to our family relationships. Now they have the audacity to order us to do things. Well, enough of their impudence. We cannot allow them to do any more of these things, nor shall we allow them to use these royal insignias. It would be best to take all these things away. It is improper to feed a snake with milk, since such merciful activities simply increase his venom.
The Yadu dynasty is now trying to go against those who have fed them so nicely. Their flourishing condition is due to our gifts and merciful behavior, and still they are so shameless that they are trying to order us. How regrettable are all these activities. No one in the world can enjoy anything if members of the Kuru dynasty like Bhishma, Dronacharya, and Arjuna do not allow them to. Exactly as a lamb cannot enjoy life in the presence of a lion without our desire, it is not even possible for the demigods in heaven, headed by King Indra, to find enjoyment in life, what to speak of ordinary human beings. Actually, the members of the Kuru dynasty were very much puffed up due to their opulence, kingdom, aristocracy, family tradition, great warriors, family members, and vast, expansive empire. They did not even observe common formalities of civilized society, and in the presence of Lord Balaram, they uttered insulting words about the Yadu dynasty. Having spoken in this unmannerly way, they returned to their city of Hastinapur.
Although Lord Balaram patiently heard their insulting words and simply observed their uncivil behavior, from his appearance it was clear that he was burning with anger and was thinking of retaliating with great vengeance. His bodily features became so much agitated that it was difficult for anyone to look at him. He laughed very loudly and said, "It is true that if a man becomes too much puffed up because of his family, opulence, beauty, and material advancement, he no longer wants a peaceful life but becomes belligerent towards all others. It is useless to give such a person good instruction for gentle behavior and a peaceful life. On the contrary, one should search out the ways and means to punish him. Generally, due to material opulences, a man becomes exactly like an animal. To give an animal peaceful instruction is useless, and the only means is argumentum ad baculum. In other words, the only means to keep animals in order is a check. Just see how impudent are the members of the Kuru dynasty. I wanted to make a peaceful settlement despite the anger of all the other members of the Yadu dynasty, including Lord Krishna himself. They were preparing to attack the whole kingdom of the Kuru dynasty, but I pacified them and took the trouble to come here to settle the affairs without any fighting. Yet these rascals behave like this. It is clear that they do not want a peaceful settlement, for they are factually warmongers. With great pride, they have repeatedly insulting me by calling the Yadu dynasty ill names.
Even the king of heaven, Indra, abides by the order of the Yadu dynasty, and you considered King Ugrasena, the head of the Bhojas, Vrishni, Andakas, and Yadavas, to be the leader of a small phalanx. Your conclusion is wonderful. You do not care for King Ugrasena, whose order is obeyed even by the king Indra. Consider the exalted position of the Yadu dynasty. They have possibly used both the assembly house and the Parijat tree of the heavenly planets, and still you think they cannot order you? Don't you think that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can sit on the exalted royal throne and command everyone? All right? If your thinking is like that, you deserve to be taught a very good lesson. You have thought it wise that the royal insignia like the whisk fan, white umbrella, royal throne, and other princely paraphernalia not be used by the Yadu dynasty. Does this mean that even Lord Krishna, the Lord of the whole creation and the husband of the goddess of fortune, cannot use this royal paraphernalia? The dust of the Krishna's lotus feet is worshipped by all the great demigods. The Ganges water inundates the whole world, and since it emanates from the lotus feet, from his lotus feet, its banks have turned into great places of pilgrimage. The principal deities of all the planets engaged in his service and consider themselves most fortunate to take the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna on their helmets. Great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even the goddess of fortune and I are simply plenary parts of his spiritual identity, and still you think that he is not fit to use the royal insignia or even sit on the royal throne? Alas, how regrettable it is that these fools consider us, the members of the Yadu dynasty, to be like the shoes and themselves like helmets. It is clear how that these leaders of the Kuru dynasty have become mad over their worldly possessions and opulence. Every statement they made was full of crazy proposals. I should immediately take them to task and bring them to their senses. If I do not take steps against them, it will be improper on my part. Therefore, on this very day, I shall rid the whole world of any trace of the Kuru dynasty, and I shall punish them off immediately. While talking like this, Lord Balarama seemed so furious that he looked as if he could burn the whole cosmic creations to ashes. He stood up steadily and, taking his plough in his hand, began striking the earth with it, separating the whole city of Hastinapura from the earth. And then he began to drag the city towards the flowing water of the river Ganges. This caused a great tremor throughout the Hastinapura, as if there had been an earthquake, and it seemed that the whole city would be dismantled.
When all the members of the Kuru dynasty saw that their city was about to fall into the water of Ganges, and when they heard their citizens howling in great anxiety, they immediately came to their senses and understood that what was happening. Thus, without waiting another second, they brought forward their daughter Lakshmana. They also brought Samba, who had forcibly tried to take her away, keeping him in the forefront with Lakshmana at his back. All the members of the Kuru dynasty appeared before Lord Balarama with folded hands, just to beg the pardon of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, using good sense, they said, O Lord Balarama, reservoir of all pleasures, you are the maintainer and support of the entire cosmic situation. Unfortunately, we were all unaware of your inconceivable potencies. Dear Lord, please consider us most foolish. Our intelligence was bewildered and not in order. Therefore, we have come before you to beg your pardon. Please excuse us. You are the original creator, sustainer, and annihilator of the whole cosmic manifestation. And still, your position is always transcendental. O all-powerful Lord, great sages speak about you, You are the original puppeteer, and everything in the world is just like your toy.
O Unlimited One, you have a hold on everything, and like child's play, you hold all the planetary systems on your head. When the time for dissolution comes, you close up the whole cosmic manifestation within yourself. At that time, nothing remains but you yourself in the causal ocean as Mahavishnu. Our dear Lord, you have appeared on this earth in your transcendental body just for the maintenance of the cosmic situation. You are above all anger, envy, and enmity. Whatever you do, even in the form of chastisement, is auspicious for the whole material existence. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the imperishable Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all opulences and potencies. O Creator of innumerable universes, let us fall down and offer you our respectful obeisances again and again. We are now completely surrendered unto you. Please, therefore, be merciful upon us and give us your protection. When the prominent members of the Kuru dynasty, from Grandfather Bhishma Dev to Arjun and Duryodhan, had offered their respectful prayers in that way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram, immediately became softened and assured them that there was no cause for fear and they need not worry.
For the most part, it was the practice of the Kshatriya kings to inaugurate some kind of fighting between the parties of the bride and bridegroom before the marriage. When Samba forcibly took away Lakshmana, the elder members of the Kuru dynasty were pleased to see that he was actually the suitable match for her. In order to see his personal strength, however, they fought with him, and without respect for the regulations of fighting, they all arrested him. When the Yadu dynasty decided to release Samba from the confinement of the Kurus, Lord Balram came personally to settle the matter. And as a powerful Kshatriya, he ordered them to free Samba immediately. The Kauravas were superficially insulted by this order, so they challenged Lord Balram's power. They simply wanted to see him exhibit his inconceivable strength. Thus, with great pleasure, they handed over their daughter to Samba, and the whole matter was settled. Duryodhana, being affectionate toward his daughter Lakshmana, had her married to Samba in great pomp. For her dowry, he first gave 1,200 elephants, each at least 60 years old. Then he gave 10,000 nice horses, 6,000 chariots, dazzling just like the sunshine, and 1,000 maidservants decorated with golden ornaments. Lord Balram, the most prominent member of the Yadu dynasty, acted as guardian of the bridegroom, Samba, and very pleasingly accepted the dowry. Balram was very satisfied after his great reception from the side of the Kurus, and accompanied by the newly married couple, he started toward his capital city of Dwarka.
Lord Balaram triumphantly reached Dwarka, where he met with many citizens who were all his devotees and friends. When they all assembled, Lord Balaram narrated the whole story of the marriage, and they were astonished to hear how Balaram had made the city of Hastinapur tremble. It is confirmed by Shukadev Goswami that in those days the river flowing through the city of Hastinapur, present-day New Delhi, was known as Ganges, although today it is called the Yamuna. From authorities like Jiva Goswami, it is confirmed that the Ganges and Yamuna are the same river flowing in different courses. The part of the Ganges which flows through Hastinapur to the area of Vrindavan is called the Yamuna, because it is sanctified by the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. The part of Hastinapur which slopes towards Yamuna becomes inundated during the rainy season and reminds everyone of Lord Balaram's threatening to cast the city into the Ganges. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 68th chapter of Krishna, the marriage of Samba.
So, my dear devotees, that concludes our 1 hour of reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. We're very grateful to you, Srila Prabhupada, for allowing us to come and read to you. So as we always do, let us offer respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskacha Shatarane, and to each other. Vanchakalpatrubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Haribol. So all of you online, you can note the subtitles below our reading, and that will help you to follow along. And next week we'll begin with chapter 69. The great sage Narada visits the different homes of Lord Krishna. Haribol. Jai Krishna Book Srila Prabhupada Shri Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.